on, go. All right, well, we have a lot of guests here. Some of them are from recovery, so I'm going to just say something about recovery. Yeah? There is a solution. No. Recovery is totally about in duality, in a sense, yes? So, in duality, there can be a sense that you're fucked, and then there's the possibility of being unfucked. Yeah? And that's really what recovery is about. So, in recovery, you can be helpful. Yeah, it's valuable. In non-duality, in a sense, helpfulness may not work in a way, because you really want to leave people with their own devices so that they realize they're not their own devices. Yeah. If you, in other words, if instead of like, I'm super afraid of dying. Now, non-duality wouldn't look at that at all. It wouldn't look at the fear of dying. It would look at who is it that has the fear of dying. Yeah? It wouldn't want to change the idea of the fear of dying or no fear of dying. There'd be no, it's not pointed in that direction. It's pointed at the assumed subject that's afraid of dying. Yeah? Because there's a fear of dying. It comes up as an action figure. But then the mental state claims the fear of dying and uses it to imply the one who's afraid of dying. That's it. That's the primary point, so to speak, is to see if there is the assumed subject as it's assumed. Yeah. So whatever topic. So if someone would come and be bitching about what's not happening, you wouldn't direct any attention to the what's not happening. You would direct the attention to what's happening that's entertaining the what's not happening. Yeah? Because the only way what's not happening can seem to be happening, it has to be happening to what's happening. Yeah. What's happening is entertaining next week and last week. That's the only reason why it can seem to be happening now, is because what's happening is entertaining. Yeah? Next week cannot entertain next week now. Yeah? Like next Wednesday can't retroactively produce effects a week before. Yeah? It has to be what's happening that uses what's not happening to produce an effect. Yeah? Usually based on ignorance, yeah? Because you believe that we're an action figure, we're historical, we were here, we're gonna be here, therefore the emphasis of was and will be has a big play here. Yeah. So what's happening is entertaining. It was happening and it will be happening. That's why what's happening identified as this draws in time. Yeah. It brings the reality, it's not a reality, but the appearance of time as a huge influence. So in most cases, when someone's upset today, they're not upset today. They're upset today, but it's based on next week or last week. Now, if you could just see one of them, you wouldn't have to give 8,000 examples. The one example reveals everything. Yeah? The one example of how we're occupied now with what's not happening. You don't need thousands of examples because it just replicates. It's like a heist that replicates itself. Yeah. So what's happening? Like we have a statement in recovery, an acronym for fear: false evidence appearing real. Yeah. And so if you look at it, all right, someone will agree false evidence is appearing real, but how does it appear real? That's what interests me. Yeah, you can believe something, but it's not going to translate into a relief. Yeah, believing it. If you see it, if you see your role in things, which is what recovery does on a very elemental level, it's sort of like when we do an inventory in recovery, we look at people, places, principles that we resent. So we would put, let's say, Mary, and then we resent Mary because she left me. All right, very clear. Yeah? But if you only go there, it doesn't produce any relief. It produces information or evidence to be right about something, but it just leads to having to get more relief. So people in a bar today are very clear about the first two columns. They know who they're mad at and why, but it leads just to a drink, yeah? or another resentment. But AA just tries to move you just a little bit. I mean, it's not a monumental move. It's just like, what was your role in it, you know? So finally, instead of thinking, oh, you were totally an innocent bystander and this just happened, but then if it just keeps happening, there's got to be some kind of clue that the one constant in all these same events is you. So you must have a role in the same shit happening all the time. It's just, I don't know how it escapes us. When we're so obsessed with ourselves, I would imagine we would see, like if you have 15 relationships and they don't work, what's the one constant in all the relationships is you. Yeah, so maybe that's why it's not working. I don't know. Is that a big leap? No, it doesn't seem to be. But for most of us, being on the consequential level, we never get there. So what this is saying is taking us way beyond, oh, I stepped on that guy's foot in the bar, and then maybe that's why he flipped out and stuff, yeah? It's going way beyond that. It's going to the point that we're the dreaming of the dreaming, yeah? That's an incredible leap from, oh, I stepped on a guy's foot in the bar, yeah? To be the dreaming of the dreaming, and therefore also the relief is geometrically progresses, yeah? The more you see your role in things, yeah, the more relief is available while you're in the things, while you're in seemingly that role with things, yeah? The more you see your role in things, it downloads into a relief while you're a thing in those roles, yeah? That's how it works. So to get to the exact nature of the wrong, so false evidence appears real. That's an activity. It's not like a plaque on some place, you know, in Idaho, false evidence appeared real, 1884, and a war started. No, all day. It's an activity of the mental state. It's taking false evidence. Now, how is the false evidence being presented? Perceptually, yeah. You see things, so immediately you believe there's things, yeah. So the perceptions, and then the thoughts, and then the feelings that get captured by the claiming, and the feelings are used to imply a mind. So suddenly, there's an activity that's going on that is distorting or interpreting what's happening, to the point where what's happening believes what's not happening is more important than what's happening. Yeah? Or today would override problems of last week. Yeah? Today would be so sufficient in and of itself that you couldn't bring in last Wednesday's problem. Yeah? There'd be so much available, you couldn't squeeze it in. But if you seem to be absent, that shit can be present like fucking crazy. Yeah? You don't need 8,000 examples, all right? There, take it off the debating stage, yeah? What's not happening seems to be a dominant influence in what's happening. Yeah? All right, bammo, move on. Okay, now how can what's not happening appear to be happening? There has to be time, yeah? So then you go, okay, the thought system pictures me as a body in the past, but its whole reference is from the past. Like the word in AA we use resentments, which means to re-feel. Everything is re. It's refelt, rethought, rehashed, redone over. Yeah? That's why it feels like the same old, because it is the same old. It's not really, it's a real clear seeing. It is the same old. The mental state is like serving the same fucking eggs every day. I mean, it's the same meal. I don't know. If you see it, there's a possibility it'll change because you are the source of change. You are. You're dreaming. So if the dreaming changes, the dream will, not the dream, there isn't a dream, but the dreaming as it manifests will change. Or you will see it differently. It doesn't even have to, the same movie directed by a different director could be great, and one directed by someone else could be fucking terrible. The exact same script, the exact same settings, the exact same stars. But the direction could make one an incredible movie and another a fucking B movie, yeah? Exact same information. It's what's directing it, what's translating it, what's collating it. So mind can be here, with another possibility other than self-centeredness. It doesn't have to see everything through self-centeredness, because the self-centeredness comes after the seeing, There's the seeing which is not based on self-centeredness. It's just seeing, But the seeing, the mental state comes up after, not after, let's say after the seeing as a visual. It comes after the seeing, and then it just does something, and suddenly the seeing moving through this imaginary activity, because there isn't a self, but there's this selfing, then it starts looking. As soon as it comes through here, it turns into looking. In other words, looking is like seeing in time, Seeing in time would be looking. You're looking. There's like, you're on a hunt, you're on a prowl, you're looking for somehow to get an advantage or some comfort. It's the basic format. It's not like you're doing it. Part of the format is the sense that it's you doing it, but it's just happening, So what would occur if a possibility, not held in the self-centered system, but questioning the self-centered system? So that which is not in the system would see it's not in the system, then downloads and other possibilities would arise with no beckoning or work. They'd just be available. And when they become available, they'll show you why they didn't seem to be available, because you were up the ass of self. That's why. There's tons of dead possibilities up the ass of self. I will be okay, or reminiscences when I once was okay, but the livingness of okayness isn't available, because there's a primary condition that's assumed, suggested, presupposed, implied, believed in. And that, with that in place, the possibility of being okay now isn't available. It gets put into time, And then it gets so crazy, you actually start looking for what's seen with the looking. And therefore, masters have seen this pitfall, because it's not unusual. This is what happens here. And the masters came and threw in a couple of incredible cryptic statements that a lot of people would just like to overpass, because it would disrupt your drive to the next retreat. It basically would. It would disrupt your formatted way of getting around to being yourself. Because the being yourself doesn't seem to be always available at all times. It seems that there are some requirements for you and I to be ourselves. But those requirements, it's when you're trying to be yourself from another reference, Instead of realizing you're not the other reference, and then you're being yourself. So here, when you're trying to be yourself from another reference, there is a real conditional acceptance of what appears to be being. If you're doing this, that's being myself. If you're not, that's not being myself. But from this, everything is included. It's always being. Always. Not one thing is outside the accepted zone. Everything is included. It's beautiful in a way. It's truly a prior acceptance before you have that drive to get to acceptance. It's just incredible. Like, has that which is seeing ever blinked on your worst day or your best day? I was seeing, not Paul looking, because Paul wanted to avoid that worst day. But the seeing was what was driving Paul crazy, because it didn't want to fucking see. But the seeing, there's no volition. So the seeing is the same as the worst day or the best day. It's got to tell us something. There's something that's already established there's no volition by what comes after. You can't, if your eyes are open and you're looking this way, you're going to see whatever shows up. You can have tons of opinions about it, but you're going to see it at first. Why is it that we don't see that which is always available at all times? Because we can't see it. That's the beauty of it, because we are it. We want to, the false reference is so freaking stubborn. It's so stubborn, it doesn't matter what evidence is expressed. It wants to see what's seen. It wants to be there to get it. So for it to be there to get it, it has to be something that could be gotten. There's the loss of it. Yeah? The loss of it is through the trying to find it. That's where it seems to be lost. If the finding, if the seeking is seen through, that which you've been looking for will be exactly where it's always been and when it's always been, which is what's looking. And I'll tell you, if anything shifts your head and it's worth its salt, it's going to reveal it's always been this way. It erases all the reality we huffed and puffed about in the future and the past, all the abilities that we could exclude ourselves from what is, all of them are seen to be totally bogus. Totally bogus, immediately. Yeah. Now, does it find traction here? Maybe, maybe not. But the mind will never fucking forget. Yeah. How can it? It's always there. How can you forget what's always there? And also, how can you remember what's always there? The only possibility we have is being it, and I actually believe we're doing that right now. We just don't think so. Yeah. It's the thinking that makes something that's not so seem to be so. There's no way you could leap from what you are to what you're not. It's impossible. It's what you're not has to be entertained by what you are right now. So in AA they say you are the problem. That's a pretty interesting statement, because if you were and are the problem, then the problem would be a hopeless state of mind and body. But because you're actually the solution entertaining the problem, it's a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. It's appearing to the solution that it's a hopeless state of mind and body. Yeah? And if the solution sees something as a hopeless state of mind and body, it makes total sense to get loaded. If someone told me, Paul, what you have is hopeless, I'd fucking get high. Because I'd like to avoid that reality. Even if it's only for 2 minutes. Yeah? And I'm willing, the type I was willing to pay any consequence tomorrow not to feel that uncomfortability now. That was the case. Yeah? So after getting introduced to recovery was to salve the crazy action figure needed. Yes? It swung the duality of this place from fucked to unfucked, which is incredible. Yeah, it's unbelievable. But then there's something other than that. There's not just fucked and unfucked in different degrees. There's something other than that. There's something always available at all times that has never been done to, never needs to be undone to. Yeah, and it's never been touched by all our shenanigans. You could write your name all day in the sky, you're never going to see it tomorrow. Yeah, you can have one of those planes writing your whole story. I mean, you got the big broad print. All right, I was born here, this and that. By the afternoon, it's gone. It's just nothing sticks to what we are. Why? If you can hear the weird ways we're looking for it, and if those shoes fit, wear them, then you'll be left with what's always available at all times. Yeah? At that point, you'll never be gypped here, ever. You'll be here while there's sleep, while you're awake. There'll be never the possibility, the insane possibility that you could be somewhere that you're not. Yeah? All of the insane possibilities will be seen as insane. The logic of the mental state will be seen as totally freaking insane, because it's presupposing, assuming a fact that's not a fact. And you cannot debate the fact that's not a fact. All you have to do is see it's not a fact. Yeah? See what you're not. Do not look for what you are. See what you're not. If there is a way, that's the only way, which is no way. Great masters have pointed it out. Huang My favorite Hawaiian Po, his old Zen master would say, you cannot use the Buddha to seek the Buddha. Now, he wasn't talking to a group like this, to Steve, Mary, Jim, and Joe. He was talking to a group like this, and he was talking to the Buddha. He was not talking to Steve about the Buddha. He wasn't warning Steve, hey Steve, you can't use the Buddha to seek the Buddha. Yeah? He was talking to the Buddha, aka Steve, and he's going, hey Buddha, you can't use yourself to find yourself. The Buddha doesn't have to go somewhere and have that explained. Yeah? It just whack. It's like, all right, that shoe fits, I'm not wearing it. And then, all right, maybe it regroups and goes, well, but I could, and he goes, you can't use light to seek light. And then because the head is crazy, right? It will try to go through the front door, the back door, the skylight, the cellar window, every possible way. All right, so he stops you at two turns, and then the third one. You can't use mind to seek mind. Yeah? All right, where else? What are you left with? No fucking possible way to approach what you are. Yeah? No possible way to use what you are to find out what you are. No possible way. They just took all the mythical little exits and entrances. God, what are you left with? Exactly what's been so the whole freaking time. And then you see what you really wanted. The mental state wants to be free because it can take tons of years to do it. Yeah? It wants to be free, and it wants people to notice that it wants to be free. And it wants people to notice that there's been some significant change in that which wants to be free. Yeah? But the freedom from that which wants to be free is an inherent state. It's now, available now. What needs to be cleaned up is the action figure. Your mental and your physical and your emotional conditions. Those things that are volatile and can be changed will be changed by recovery. If you submit yourself to the program of recovery, you will not change a thing, but you will be changed. That which can change will be changed, and then it becomes seemingly easier for that to become not the nuisance and that it is, and so mind can get unfettered and entertain other possibilities. Because if you're trying to entertain non-duality as you entertain getting high, it will never work. You cannot use non-duality like a fucking path. It's just a fact. You hear it, if it resonates, you wear the shoe and see where it leads you. But most people in spirituality, it's like doing drugs. They want to get out of something. Yeah? And that wanting to get out of it precludes the recognition. Yeah? I see it. I see people come here and they want to use non-duality to get an advantage as this. It ain't going to work. It's like that desert tortoise. The coyote comes, wants to get some meat out of that thing. After 4 minutes, it gets freaking disappointed and splits. Yeah? Because it's not getting anything out of the tortoise. That's what non-duality is. That's the beauty of it. You keep hearing it and you get more nothing every time. Until the point is you start thriving on nothing. Yeah? And then nothing really produces in everything that's clean and clear. Not in everything that's trying to be grasped and understood and known, but in everything that's just as wide and big as it is. Yeah? Yes. So now you're not using the old modality to try to get somewhere. You've realized the futility of it all. And in not trying to get somewhere, you recognize you're somewhere. It's beautiful, really. Yeah. And then these meetings are just to support that possibility over and over again. Because in time, that which is can seemingly forget that which is. It appears to that which is forgotten. Has it forgotten? No. But it has appeared that it is forgotten in a very short bit of time. Like 80 years is nothing, is it? I mean, you'll never remember it, and most people that knew you will never remember it. And every night we were talking about it yesterday. If we had so much importance, why would we be off the game board for like 1/3 of the day every day, sleeping? If we were the most important piece of Monopoly, We're off the board like 1/3 of the time. What else is happening? It's only in the boots point of view that it's important to the game. The game, it doesn't matter whatsoever. There's zillions of boots. Eiffel Towers, boots. Pisa, the Tower of Pisa. That's the freedom from the bondage of self. Yes? Not that you got released from it, but you realize it never truly happened. Yeah? You can't get in or out of an imaginary place. I'm serious. It's not gonna happen. You can have 50 people agree you got out of an imaginary place, but that's in being in an imaginary place. If you appear in the new authentic place, it's an imaginary place. That would be a sign dreaming is continuing if you're there. People say they're like the perfect embodiment. I'm always wondering about that, of something, but then they have a heart attack and they never even knew it was coming. I mean, you would think if you were the perfect embodiment of all awareness at all times, you would have planned the day you die, right? You know, big festival, maybe a donation before, so you can have some fun hours before. But no, it catches everyone by surprise, yeah? In a lot of ways. So AA for me, simple. The biggest thing that changed everything in my program was that statement, being convinced, which I believe is the basis of surrender, really. Either it has to be downloaded in you or somehow brought about. But being convinced, which to me is surrender to the situation, that self manifested in various ways is what has defeated us. We will now look at its common manifestations. So to me, all the inventory processes are looking at self's manifestations, not ours. Yeah, I can't see why there isn't that separation, because it says it very clearly, self and us. It doesn't see if it was us, it would have been being convinced that Paul, Mary, Jim, Stu, millions of names, defeated in many ways, Paul, Mary, Stu, Jim, millions of ways. It says self and us. I would say we're in the us category, and then there's some modality or some mental parasitical movement or some system that has defeated us. And how has it defeated us? It has defeated us through the act of being identified as something that we're not. Really, yeah? It doesn't mean we're identified with something that we're not. There's the act of being identified as something that we're not. It's different, yeah? If you're identified with something that you're not, then you'd have to get unidentified, yeah? And this is where we run into that crux of the statement of quit playing God. So if you believe the problem resides in the mind, and that's where the playing God is going on, yeah? And if the playing God attempts to quit playing God, wouldn't that be playing God? Yeah. So how could that which is playing God quit playing God? That would be playing God. You can't get out of it once you're seemingly in it. See? Because if you try to get out of self as a self, that's self. How could that be a description in our life? It could only be brought about through the act of being identified. Something that is not has to become identified as something that it's something that is has to become identified with something that it's not, and take the expressions of that which it's not, it's as its own. Yeah? Isn't that the act of being identified? Now you know the exact nature of the wrong. So you do an inventory, and it will inform you how self has defeated you. Yeah? So why? So that you'll see it before it defeats you from now on. Instead of being a forensic unit that knows you're fucked, like a professor of holes that never keeps the professor out of holes. What's the point of that knowledge? You will see selfing. You'll see it before, hey bro, how are you? You'll see selfing, yeah, before you're the result of it. Why not? Do you want to know you fucked up when you're in jail? I'd rather know I'm going to be fucked before I go to jail, so I don't go to jail. Yeah, that's traveling lighter. Yeah, so that's that, I guess. Any questions? I got to apply sunscreen to the action figure. That's what happened. People go, why do you have to do anything? See, this is how non-duality is used by people in recovery. First thing they do is say, well, if there is no self, why do I have to do an inventory? I hear that all the time.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So if self can't get self out of self, but that's self ain't, right?
Yeah.
It's a spiritual solution?
Yeah. Is your inherent state. You're not trying to be spirit, yeah? You're trying to be spiritual from a false reference. See, you're not the false reference, and you'll find out you're spiritual. Your definition will change. It won't be you with long hair, on a cliff with the rays of light and the wind, and that's spiritual. It'll just be dog shit awareness, basically. You'll be awake to being awake all day. Yeah, with no thought or effort. So my idea of quote-unquote spirit or spirituality has changed dramatically over the years. I don't believe most spiritual stuff is spiritual at all. Yeah. It's like trying to acquire, it's like a bastardization of your own condition as a condition you try to acquire from the false condition. Yeah? I don't think you're going to make a body that's spiritual. Yeah. I think a body doesn't want to sit 14 hours and meditate, It really doesn't. It just wants a nice cushion on the chair. It doesn't want to go to the Himalayas and stay in a fucking cave that's freezing for 6 months. It wants to have a nice Airbnb. It does, literally, Am I putting this on spirit? No. Putting this on the body. Because tomorrow my super dry and hot. What happened? Yeah.
A lot of people in recovery say that when they wake up, the self starts talking to them, say you're a piece of shit, starts getting on you about, the action figures you say, right?
Yeah.
Do you still suffer with that in the morning and how do you turn it off?
I don't suffer with it in the morning, no. So, but how do you turn it off? You don't. That's the solution. You're trying to turn it off is one of the best ways it's on. Yeah. What about fucking accepting things as they are? That's an impossibility. But it's a probability if something is seen through. Yeah. The most value now for this has just been acceptance of this. When it was me, it was demanded a lot of. I wanted it to go higher, be clearer, do more. Yeah. And it was really, it was almost like a slavery. It never ended. Just keep pushing, do more stuff, And it didn't seem like it was ever gonna, and then the problem with the self can't get out of self. So let's say you take a 2-year class about obsession with self. That could be construed as obsession with self, yeah? So what I found, there's a losing of interest, yeah, in that which thinks it has the interest, yeah? And then the ball game goes differently. It doesn't get caught in that this and that, yes and no. It's prior to the problem. So there's no, here it sees the problem as an activity that the solution is involved in, and you come to accept it. The solution is dreaming this place, yeah, right now. So when people hear about the dreaming, they hear it as the dreamt, and then they think, okay, I'm going to have a 50 Cadillacs and tons of women and really nice Italian shoes and shit, yeah. No, the dreaming isn't the message about being the dreaming isn't to the dreamt. It's to mind. This whole talk is to mind. Yeah? This is the main dilemma. When the talk doesn't get to the intended target because the mental state claims it and says, I'm the one who went to the satsang. Yeah? The satsang is defeated right there and then. So we want to look, all right, so this was an obvious pitfall many people don't know, so certain masters pointed it out, yeah? And then I put my feet in those shoes, and they fit, and I've never talked about anything else, because I humbly believe if you don't see this, you'll be looking from its effects. If you don't see that the mental state is catching everything that you're going through today and claiming to be the one who's having it, and even the one who's losing it, yeah? If you don't see that, you're going to be looking from its results, which is you will, in some level or another, be seeking what you are through what you're not, yeah? And it's destined to fail. And yet, while it's failing, the mental state will blame itself. I didn't do enough, and it's the slavery. Yeah, to me, it's a freaking slavery. What's wrong with being just a fucking normal Joe, in a sense? Can you imagine if you just lived a day at a time, literally, how lighter you would be? That you would just have. It's just so obvious that next week isn't happening. I mean, really. I don't understand why there has to be so many things like applied to an imaginary problem. And then the whole idea of getting into the moment is predicated on an insane idea that you have the power to be out of a moment. You don't. You're destined here. The action figure is here. The surveillance camera that's here today, you'll be on it. Oh, I wasn't there. I was thinking, no, but it doesn't fucking matter. You're not escaping this. Yeah? Get it. You are not transcending this place. You're not. Yeah. I've tried freaking tons of ways to get out of here. I have. I swear to God. I found old maps in the cell, and I tried them. I try to come up with some new maps, but basically that urge is really, I want to get out of here. I'm tired of the sweat right here. I'm tired of my cheek hurting, bloatedness, like that. My hair is too dry. I'm just fucking tired of it, and it seems to drag out quite a lot in time. So I think we're all, like if we were burrowing animals, we'd be... all the sophistication and all the coolness, we would just then we'd look up and see if anyone's beating us and oh, they got out. Just fucking accept it. Fucking squeeze out a nice latte and be happy about it. You know what I mean? You're not incarcerated today. Have gratitude. Whatever. This has been called to too many fucking mythical journeys. It doesn't want to go. Really, it doesn't. Accept the fact, really, it's never going to get any better. Accept the fact, I don't care who you sit in front of, it doesn't fucking matter, you're still there. Yeah. Yeah, when all's said and done, if you were smart, you just have dead masters. They'll never fucking upset you. Yeah. Yeah. If we took all the effort just in this area to break this gravitational pull, one of us would have made it through. Don't you think? I mean, drug addiction, sex, whatever. I mean, shop your way into heaven. Everyone here has done a lot of it, I've had tons of tonics and elixirs and superfoods and freaking energetic work and shamanistic, taking out the more demons come in every day. It's sort of like, you don't realize you're like a motel on the highway of this place. And everyone has a pass to your room. Things are coming in. I'm seeing people. I go home, have a nice night. I get a call. They're arrested. There was a fucking domestic thing happened. It's insane what's going on here. It really is. We went to dinner, and the guy went downstairs to let his girlfriend in. He got arrested. for some crazy woman to put a charge on. We just went to his house for dinner. We just arrived in LA. We're there. He's gone. The cops are at the door demanding the kid. 4 hours later, we still haven't had dinner. Like, what the hell happened? You know, this is happening all the time. The mental state is insane. And, you know, but the beautiful thing is, first of all, you get a break. 8 hours a day, somewhat. I hope, unless you have insomnia, you do get a break. Now that's beautiful compassion, isn't it? Really, you can forget everything. Yeah, you can. That's amazing. Every day, the Etch-a-Sketch gets shooken and then starts over again. Can you imagine if it just kept going? You know, fuck, you would see the insanity in everybody by 10 a.m. Most people can fake it till about 5 p.m. and then dump it on their significant other. But it would just be like wild, wild west. So you can have that sense of sleep now, in a way. You can have that which you're so desiring be always available at all times, but not through desire. Yeah? And there's one requirement. You can't be there. Yeah? You, as this, cannot be there. This isn't going to get it. This isn't going to have it. This isn't going to embody it. It's already embodying it. Yeah? Yes. And then maybe you just feel okay today. And after a while of a lot of days feeling okay, you realize, hey, I've been traveling lighter for quite a while. And you realize, what more do I freaking want? And then the mythical apple of enlightenment falls off the tree, and awakening, and you fucking you make a pie out of it, really. You know, put it to real use. Get some nutrition out of it. Yeah. Yes. So, yeah, that's it. I think. Any more questions? Hi. I'm going to have to start paying you for your little appearances. I've gotten a lot of comments about you in that video we did a few weeks ago. They're wanting more of you and less of me. So the lineage is going to be given over. Yeah. Bye-bye. I've done all I can do. There's tons of videos. Go at it. Yeah. I can't do any more. Really. I've been terrible certain days, and this has come through. I've been great certain days, this come through. It has nothing to do. This condition doesn't have to be in a certain condition to sense that. It doesn't. Yeah? This is not a preordained requirement to be available to that. It's not.
Question.
Yes.
Paul, so you talk about the action figure always wants can't get out of the moment. So knowing that fact, non-duality can be used as a vehicle to understand that you can never get out of the moment because.
Well, the understanding of non-duality. Non-duality isn't used for anything. The understanding of non-duality can be used. Yeah? So this having an understanding of non-duality can apply it. But non-duality is not an understanding. It's just a fact. Yeah? The fact of this place is there's not two. Yeah? That there's dreaming and all there is dreaming. That's the fact. You can be in agreement with it or not, but it's just presented as a fact to me. It's not like oh, you have an introduction and then it grows. It may but it's just a big fucking bigness, and you know, you can coyote it all day, try and get some meat out of it. It's not giving you anything. And then suddenly you realize you are what you've been looking for. Yes? Yeah? If that which is looking for it gets starved enough, sufficiently, it's going to turn itself on itself and realize, like with questions, a lot of times it's good to starve the questioner from asking questions, because then it realizes it's just the answer. the questioner is the answer. Yeah? It wants to get to the answer through an answer of a question, but in fact, before the question and answer, you're the answer. Yeah? So in a lot of ways, this is more of a starvation or an austerity plan. You're not given much. Yeah? And you're left with your own devices, and then there's a finding out right where you seem to be. Yeah. If you ordain someone else to have it and not yourself, it's another form of slavery. Yeah. A lot of people I used to have come, they've left these meetings. And some of them, I ran into one and she says, "Bye-bye, Paul. I just wanted to thank you. I'm never going to probably see you again." Great. And she wasn't an ex-girlfriend. I was quite pleased, really. I'll miss her, but this is what it entails for her. That aspect of the job is done. So, she she thanked me, happy birthday, for my birthday. That's about it. What do you expect? That's what this whole message is about. Yeah, it's not, oh, watch me travel lighter. It's you traveling lighter. Really, that's the whole point. I'm listening to it as much as you are. I probably need it way more than you because I've never missed a meeting. I've been to thousands of these meetings now, and mostly against my will. Really, literally. It's because I'm in a habit, I show up. Yeah. So something needed it. Yeah, so, all right. That's it. You want to turn it off, then?